Horror movies live and die by the scares and unease of the stories, but the films with absolutely genius quotes help them rise above the rest. While shocking scenes, jump scares, and terrifying horror moments are what people like to see when watching a film, the best lines are the ones that fans will repeat for years after seeing a film. There are those quotes from horror movies that everyone knows, and usually it's a one-liner, like, "We need a bigger boat," or "Here's Johnny." However, when searching past these famous one-liners, there are some horror movie quotes that are genius in their wording and present a line that encompasses what the movie is all about. There's one thing about living in Santa Carla I never could stomach: all the damn vampires. The Lost Boys, 1987. Barnard Hughes as Grandpa in The Lost Boys. The Lost Boys was a colorful and fun vampire horror movie that starred Jason Patric as a young man who ended up infected with the vampire curse, and Corey Haim as his younger brother, who was looking for a way to save him. The movie featured a great cast and a ton of great lines for all the characters. While characters like the Frog Brothers, played by Corey Feldman and Jameson Newlander, had some of the best lines in the movie, the most genius line came at the end from a character who only had a few minutes of screen time. This was Grandpa, played by Barnard Hughes. After the boys had beaten many of the vampires, only the main vampire remained, and that is when Grandpa drove his truck through the front of his house, killing the vampire leader. While this was shocking, when he dropped this line and the boys realized he knew about the vampires all along, it was the perfect pin drop. "I'm scared to close my eyes, I'm scared to open them. We're gonna die out here." Blair Witch Project, 1999. Close-up of Heather's eyes in The Blair Witch Project. The Blair Witch Project was a groundbreaking movie when it was released in 1999. While found footage films were nothing new, and this wasn't the first, it was the movie that really launched the horror subgenre to new heights. It was also notable for its insistence that it was actual real-life footage brought to the big screen. The directors helped hammer this home by using non-professional actors and then not giving them a script. They hid cameras, gave the cast handhelds of their own, and then shot the movie by purposely scaring them and filming their reactions. That made the line delivered by Heather Donahue all the more disturbing. When Heather delivered this line close to the Blair Witch Project ending, she was clearly panicked, and the quote was perfect, explaining why her character was so scared and how nothing she did could help her escape this fear. "Well, Clarice, have the lambs stopped screaming?" The Silence of the Lambs, 1991. Anthony Hopkins as Hannibal Lecter in The Silence of the Lambs. Most people look at one quote from The Silence of the Lambs as the masterpiece, and that is when Hannibal Lecter is talking about how he ate a census-taker's liver with some fava beans and a nice Chianti. However, the most genius quote in the movie was more geared towards his relationship with Clarice. Before Hannibal would help Clarice figure out the identity of the serial killer she was tracking, he made her tell him things about herself. She reveals the nightmares she has of the screaming lambs, and Hannibal had told her that she would finally end that repeated dream when she found herself. After Clarice stopped Buffalo Bill and faced her fears, Hannibal Lecter gave her one last call. He is checking in on her to make sure she is okay, and when he hears her voice, he realizes that she has finally conquered her fears, and this line encompasses that fact perfectly. "I said I'm not gonna hurt ya. I'm just gonna bash your brains in." The Shining, 1980. Jack Nicholson as Jack Torrance in The Shining. Everyone quotes two lines from The Shining. These are "Here's Johnny," and "All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy." However, the Stanley Kubrick adaptation of the Stephen King novel is full of great quotes, and this one is a line that really shows that Jack Torrance has snapped and lost it. It also shows the dark humor of Kubrick's script and the masterful performance by actor Jack Nicholson. Throughout the movie, Jack has been getting more and more unhinged as the ghosts of the Overlook Hotel speak to him. However, this is the moment where he finally goes over the edge. When Jack looks at Wendy and assures her that he isn't going to hurt her, it gives just the right amount of pause for relief. When Jack drops the second half of the quote, the movie launches into its frantic third act and never stops until Jack is dead in the snow. We have such sights to show you. Hellraiser, 1987. Doug Bradley as Pinhead looking angry in Hellraiser. Hellraiser is another horror movie with great quotes, and this is thanks to the book's author, Clive Barker, who is a master at macabre dialogue. The film features a puzzle box, where, when a person solves it, the demonic Cenobites arrive and offer the victim the pleasure of intense pain. There are many lines delivered by Pinhead, Doug Bradley, the lead Cenobite, that hit hard when the themes of the movie. When he first sees Kirsty, Ashley Lawrence, when she is forced to solve the puzzle, he tells her to save her tears because they are a waste of good suffering. However, the most genius quote in the entire movie is when Pinhead delivers this line. As the movie is about the pleasure of pain and sadomasochism in general, Pinhead believes he is providing an exquisite gift to his victims and that they should be excited to see where he takes them next. Wouldst thou like to live deliciously? The Witch, 2015. Anya Taylor-Joy as Thomasin outdoors in The Witch. Robert Eggers showed he was a force to be reckoned with when he released The Witch. The film follows a Puritan family who were banished from their village after a religious dispute. However, the mother is still strictly religious, and when something happens to their youngest child, she takes it out on her elder daughter. This leads her daughter, Thomasin, to meet a dangerous creature in the form of a goat, and she then makes a decision that will determine her fate. The goat, named Black Phillip, makes plenty of offers to Thomasin, but it is this line that really sticks with the viewers, thanks to its foreboding nature. At the end of The Witch, Black Phillip delivers this line as his last offer to Thomasin, and she accepts the offer and leaves with him to join a witch's coven. Thomasin sold her soul for his offers of luxury. Sometimes Dead is Better, Pet Sematary, 1989. Fred Gwynne as Judd Crandall in Pet Sematary. Pet Sematary was a solid Stephen King movie adaptation, based on one of his darkest novels. In this story, a family moves to a new home and, almost immediately, their toddler son, Gage, walks into the road and is killed by a semi-truck. Father, Louis, does the unimaginable when he buries his son in the pet cemetery. This is where the horror comes, as this cemetery brings the dead back to life, but they are not all there in the head. Gage begins to kill, and Louis can't stop making the same mistakes. There is a line delivered in the movie by their neighbor, Judd Crandall, Fred Gwynne, that Louis should have listened to.